Nyssa. Thank you so much for coming on and offering a testimonial.
Hi, Amanda. I'm so happy to do it.
Awesome. Okay, so first things first, tell us what you do.
So, I am a life coach and an acupuncturist.
Awesome. Okay, perfect. So you and I have worked together for a few different rounds now. And before we started working together most recently, I know you were really struggling to like claim your power, take bold action, put yourself out there. And we're dealing with a lot of overthinking and being in your head. So set the stage, tell us what your life was like and what you were up to.
Yeah. So, before we started working together, I really had not claimed that I was a life coach, but I had found some success in my acupuncture business and was really feeling the calling to pivot and add on this additional service to really serve my clients in a new way because I could see how they were stuck where they were and they needed this extra tool to get them further. And, um, I had all these ideas about the program that I was going to make, and I kept not setting aside the time for it. And I didn't know exactly how to market myself. And so I was basically just stuck in paralysis. So like, I'm going to do it. I know I'm going to do it. I should do it, but I haven't done it.
Yeah, yeah. And how did it feel to be in that space?
It felt really frustrating because I definitely doubted that I could make something of value, but I felt like I could. And so it was really frustrating that I just kept not making the time. And and also really scary that people were going to be like, you're full of shit.
Yes, yes. One of the doubts I remember your wording was like I struggle with doubt that I have something to teach in this new arena was how you phrased it.
Yeah.
And it turns out you more than do. But before we get into that, um to set to kind of set the stage even more, you were super busy with being a newly single-ish mom, a divorce, looking for a house, all of these different things. So how did that play into making the decision to work with me?
Yeah. Well, I think that was part of the problem. It was like I saw one of my stories that I inherited from my mom and her mom and all the women in my family is I don't have enough time. There's never enough time. So I really could see how I have all these things on my plate. And one of the ways, like the gatekeeper was like, I need to be feeling more abundant in my money and in my time. And so it was like, okay, I just have to make it a priority that somehow I'm going to make it work and find somebody who's going to like help me cut through the mind craziness. Because the gatekeeper to all these dreams that I have is that I have the resources to do them. And so when I found you, it was like, okay, this person is going to pump me up because I felt like that's what I needed. There were so many people in my life who were like, well, those are some big dreams. I don't know, you
Mm.
know? And I was like, yeah, I really think I can do it. It's calling me, but I don't know how. And so I wanted to find somebody who would pump me up, who would believe in my big dreams, and who would help me strategize to get there. And it's been so amazing working with you.
Likewise, absolutely likewise. Awesome. Okay, so you came to me originally with all of this like actiony stuff, and through a few or two rounds now, you've gotten to a place where you feel um, embodied in your process. Well, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but from what I see, you're embodied in your process and you do know that you can teach people. And you're kind of like at this point right now of juicy expansion and like playing around with your messaging. So, what was the impetus behind the second round of signing with me? Because I know you had kind of been like, I'm just going to see what I can do by myself.
Yeah. Hmm. I think that it was so transformational in the first round for me with getting out of my own way, with shifting my mindset, with how much I was actually able to accomplish when as I was building my self-trust. I mean, I feel like that's been such a big focus for our work together is building my self-trust and improving my self-relationship. And so throughout that process, it's just totally transformed the way that I do things. And as we finished the first round, it felt like, well, there's so much more I want to accomplish. And I still I still want someone to help me strategize, to help me identify, those little blocks that where I get in my head or something. And so it just feels like it's building. When I look back on where I was before we started, it's like, wow, I've changed so much in my self trust and my trust in the universe, in my comfort in doing things in my life, but also things in my business. And so it just felt like, what I wanted to stop yet.
Right. Right. And that's like, excuse me, that's a big thing that I notice with a lot of my clients. And we've kind of talked about this is that the action that they come in wanting to take is quite masculine, but then we relax right into the feminine way of taking action and it just blossoms into more self trust and trust in the universe. And
Yeah.
oh, those juicy things. So good. Okay. So, something pretty powerful happened recently. There's kind of two things that I want you to touch on. The first one is that you recently led your first solo workshop after telling yourself that you couldn't for a very long time. Um, so tell everyone about that experience.
Yeah. So I had been dragging my feet, beating around the bush for a long time and telling myself things like, I'm so great in person, I'm so good one on one. And so I'd done a bunch of other things before I decided, okay, I'm just going to market myself online, solo workshop. I'm delivering all the value. Let's go do it. And it ended up being really wonderful. Like when well, I think it also helped that we had a call right beforehand. So I felt like super grounded going into it. But it was really lovely to be in that space, showing up and having people ask me questions and see get feedback right away, like what they're getting out of that experience was very affirming for me. And it was scary going into it, but it was also really beautiful to when I put myself out there, then people signed up. It's like, oh,
Mm, mhm, mhm.
okay.
So what do you think are the some of the beliefs that shifted from when you first came into the container that allowed you to actually take that leap and do that scary thing?
Well, throughout the container, we've been skill stacking. So I have much more experience now talking about the stuff that I'm working on, working with clients, and developing real hands-on experience about this topic, not just theoretical or my own personal experience. So this was different, right? Because I'm calling in people I don't have a relationship with already, as we talk about this work. But I think one of the big shifts was to have me step into, I am an authority about this topic, and I can handle it. Whatever people ask, I will be able to think on my feet and I won't look like an idiot.
Mm.
Like, that was a big thing that I had to. It's like, if I don't know the answer, that's okay, but I will probably be able to say something that's good enough. So it was like just grounding into, there's no need to panic. You're actually awesome. It's okay.
Yes, 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 yes. And one of the big things for you is you already came into the container very skilled and ahead of the game on perfectionism and imposter syndrome because it's something that you work with your clients on. So it wasn't like outright I'm not good enough to do this. It was sneaky. It was like, I'm so much better when I'm in collaboration with someone or when I'm one on one in person, but it was an online workshop and your goal was to eventually scale your business online. So it was really exciting for me as your coach too, to be like, go, go, go. Like you could, it's so good. And then, okay, so the second powerful shift was, ooh, yes, this one's still fresh. So it's okay if there's not such good, juicy articulation. But I know we've been talking about for a while about like kind of incorporating more spirituality and more of the feminine into what you offer.
Mhm.
And I know that that took some poking and prodding and some thought on your end and some mindset changes. So do you want to share about that?
Mm. So it's so interesting because it's a big part of my practice and also what I do with clients. And I think I have been I've been so excited to catch people early on in the process that I have not, um in the process of their spiritual awakening, that I have not in the past been using as much language in my marketing that dives into that, like, divine feminine and talks about the shamanic journeying work that I do with clients. And so there's a lot of fear for me about it because it is very out of context for my family. and also, you wouldn't think about it in the acupuncture community, but because it was such a spiritual practice at one point, but nowadays it's very very clinical, and so it's very out there. But I'm realizing that that's really okay. And actually, when I think about what has drawn me towards that, it's this very honest and thought-provoking and aligned language from other people that I've resonated with. So I am working on finally actually putting more of that in my copy, and we'll see what happens. I mean, it feels really good. It feels vulnerable, which is kind of exciting, but it's early yet. So I don't know what will happen with it, but I'm pretty excited.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, it took, like I said, it took like I think the major mindset shift there that I know a lot of people watching will relate to is being able to supersede that what will other people think. And even as coaches who are professionally trained in not caring what other people think, we very much still are like, but this family member and this friend and this person on LinkedIn. And I think it really took you rooting into and sinking into your value to then be able to be like, "Oh, I have more to give, and this is really the calling."
And I think it's also me leaning into that I don't need like some sort of credential, you know. I see people out there who have like, psychology degrees, or they have some sort of certificate in like trauma healing with plant medicines or whatever. And when I think about my teachers who I've gotten so much out of, it's all they've learned from masters like I have. They have done their own practice. And so it's really leaning into, well, am I going to let that stop me? Like, people need help now and I can help them. And do I have to like go out there and find some certificate to like slap a label on it? No, I don't. When I think about these transformational experiences I've had, they're not with people who have like some sort of fancy certificate or degree in these things. So,
Oh, so good. Just another, like, way that you've very powerfully turned something that could be self-doubt into, like, a superpower, and just really amazing mindset work there, so good. Okay, so to wrap up, I know someone listening might think that they are too busy or don't have the time for private coaching, even if they see the value in it. And so we went over at the top that you are a very, very busy lady and you have been very intentional about your time, right? But what would you tell someone who might have that concern?
yeah, you have a lot more time than you think, is I guess, like I'm doing more than I was doing before, um, or at least as much, but I'm doing different things and I'm just so much more calm now. So it feels, we've talked a lot about radical rest because for me that's a huge thing. Is like, how do I radically rest? And so I'm not feeling exhausted anymore, because for years I was like zombie level of fatigue all the time. And I'm doing all that stuff, all this stuff now, but I I'm not spinning my wheels mentally as much as I was, which used a lot of energy. I'm prioritizing very differently than I did before. So I guess what I would say is, don't let the idea that you have to make it perfect stop you from just getting started.
Mm,
Because the first it's like the first time I went through a coaching program, I did not like use it to the fullest extent of whatever, but it was exactly what I needed at the time. I stumbled my way through it. I made as much time as I could, and it propelled me into the future. And so it's okay if it looks messy. If you're called to it, you'll find a way.
mm, such wise words. Such wise words. Okay, one last thing that I want to pick out of what you said, feeling calm and collected. So that comes up a lot in some other testimonials that I've done. And what does what does that sense of calm, moving from a place of overthinking and overwhelm to a place of calm, what does that allow you to do? Like, what does that brain space create for you, whether in manifestations or thought leadership?
Well, a couple of things. One is that I sleep way better. I dealt with insomnia for years, like really awful insomnia, and I sleep really well now, which is awesome. But additionally, I would say that my mind works so much better, and like I'm really prioritizing my daily meditations now. And I get these incredible hits of inspiration when I'm meditating. Whereas if I'm just going boom, 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 boom from one thing to the next, when it comes time for me to sit and write copy, uh, it's like I have to force my way into it. And I just don't think that gets me as good results. You know, when I'm sitting there and I'm meditating and I'm like, ooh, that's very interesting. And then I just make a note of it and then I'm ready to roll when it's time for me to write. So I would say those are probably the two biggest things in terms of how I show up in my business because I'm able to be more present and I'm able to be more inspired. But also, it just allows me to have a better work-life balance so that when I'm working, I'm working. And when I'm with my family, I'm like, okay, being with my family, I'm not like thinking about working.
Oh, so good. Amazing. Is there any last things that you wanted to mention?
Mm. Just that it's been awesome working with you. Thank you so much.
Likewise. We have a call right after this, which I'm very excited about. So we're going to hop off, but thank you again so much for offering your words.
My pleasure.
I'll see you in a bit. Bye.